What's going on, YouTube? I got... What's your name?
Matt.
Matt. All right. What'd you do today?
Tied for first place at locals today.
Okay.
With Paleozoic Tearlaments.
How you like the deck?
It's interesting. It creates a lot of interaction. It's not fun to play against, but it makes me a better player because I have to, think through a lot of my moves. And there's always interaction points. So you really have to be careful with this deck. It's very easy to miss things because there's like chain link 8, chain link 9 when you have multiple effects going off, and your opponent's effects are going off too. So, but it's helped me get better for sure.
All right.
I like the deck.
So let's get into the deck profile.
All right. So starting out, 2 Rhino Heart.
Okay.
The only reason you play 2 is really just because it's the worst one to mill out of all the tier names, and the whole point behind this deck is you want every card to be a good mill. And so by playing 2 of this, you minimize the chance that you opened it with double of it, because that's not good either, and also you don't really want to mill this as much as the other ones. So 2 is good enough. And like the only reason you play 2, and also you can't just afford to play 1 because if it gets banished, then you can't make Kaleido Heart, so you need a 2. So 2 is good. Then for the other tiers, 3 Merly, 3 Havness, 3 Sharon, pretty standard. All these are really important. Merly's obviously the best one because you mill 3. It's a level 2 because with the Paleozoics also being level 2, you can make Toad with this or Ophibinia with this, which comes up a lot. Yeah, it's basically all the standard tier names that everybody knows about tier names by now.
Tier.
Yep.
Tier 0.
Tier 0, there it is. Yeah, you have to be playing it in some form.
Yes.
And then the last monster is 1 copy of Backjack.
Okay.
This card is insane if you can mill it on your opponent's first turn with the Havness trigger, because then you could just get a trap off of it and still activate that turn. So you can have a turn 0 like Lost Wind or a Breakthrough Skill or like Dino-Miscus or something on your opponent's turn 0, which is really crazy. So this card gives you a lot more interaction points. It's the only reason why you just one of it is because you don't want to draw it really ever.
Okay.
But just the one of it, you mill so many cards, you're gonna see it a decent amount anyway, because you mill like pretty commonly. You go Kikalos, Merly, mill 8, and so you're gonna hit this a decent amount of times anyway.
Yes.
So just one of it. That's it for monsters. For spells, God card, Instant Fusion. 1 of 4 cards in the deck that don't do anything when milled, but the power level is obvious with that. Yeah, you don't need to explain it. Got Heartbeat and Scream for the tier element spells. This is really just like as a main deck out to like Necro Valley and shit, because the deck dies to Necro Valley. And then this, like, Scream is really strong. When you already have the trap, you can Kikalos, search, Scream, and then you mill initial 3, and you lower your opponent's monsters by 500, which is really important, because sometimes it's like hard to out the Bastille monsters if they're on the board. So being able to lower them by 500 and like run them over with like Toad or Kikalos or some of your littler monsters can come up a lot. So that's the spells. Traps, the better brother of the deck right here. Got 3 Needlebug. This card, it says mill 5. You trigger like 3 effects with it. This card's ridiculous. If it resolves and you mill 5 and you hit like a decent, because every mill's gonna be pretty good for the most part. You mill like 1 tier and then you mill like a Sulic or a Scream to search or a couple Paleos or a Lost Wind. Any card you can mill will do something. So milling 5 just says, okay, I get like 4 or 5 cards in my graveyard that do something. So like it's just so strong when you resolve Needlebug. Paleo cards, you got 3 Morella. It's the best one because it's a starter. You send the Sulic. That's the whole point why this deck works, is you send Sulic with this to search a tier monster. So this card is insane. You see these 2 in your opening hand. It's like, okay, you're milling 5 and you're sending a Sulic to search a Havness, so summon a Havness to mill 3 more, and like you're not gonna lose most of the time when you're doing that on your opponent's first turn. Then you got Dino, the best removal card. It's one of the only traps that's actually decent going second, because you can out something, and then you have so much negation that even if they try to like negate this, you can generally have like Sulic or Lost Wind or Breakthrough to negate whatever it is, and so you can clear something with this and then trigger a tier effect by sending from hand to grave, which is really good. And then of course, like all the Paleos, they're all bodies, they summon themselves back, so Dino-Miscus is insane. And then you got 3 Canadia. This one is like not as obvious to be played at 3 because it's really bad going second. You don't really want to draw this into an established board, but at the same time, it's still strong going first to be able to Book of Moon something. And so like it's still good enough, I think, to play 3. I thought about cutting it down to 1. It usually gets sided out, like 1 or 2 copies of it get sided out going second, just because you don't want to see it going second. But in the main deck at 3, it's decent enough. It's just another Paleo name, because you want to play enough Paleo names to where you hit like 1 or 2 off of a Needlebug mill or off a Kikalos mill 5. You just always want to have some in rotation, so you just want to play like enough names. So 3 of that one. Then Sulic, 3 of it, because even if you like open multiples of it, it's not even bad, because even if you have like 2 of them set, you can just like flip one up and trigger a paleo from it, and then you could like flip the other one up, trigger another paleo, and then you got 2 bodies. So it's like even drawing multiples of it isn't that bad. And then you can always like discard this for Rhino Heart, which is a good interaction too. And then like obviously you want to mill this card, and you're milling so many cards that you mill this, you get a free search. It's like puts you so far ahead. So 3 of it, and then 3 Lost Wind. Yeah, this card is also ridiculous. It permanently negates and halves the attack of a monster. So again, it helps you get over bigger monsters, and it permanently negates it. So then, even if it's a threat that like say lives on the board for a turn, it's negated for the next turn too. So like, and it also when they summon from the extra deck, you just reset it again, use it again. So like yeah,
recycle, baby.
Yep, that's the whole point of this deck. Is every card in the graveyard does something. You get it back. You get multiple uses. Same theory behind 3 Breakthrough. This card is ridiculous also because it says no to Abyss Dweller. They summon Abyss Dweller. It's like, okay, sure, I got a Breakthrough in grave. They try to activate it, banish the Breakthrough, negate Dweller, and you keep them going. So, yeah. So 3 Breakthrough, and then this is the reason why the deck works. 3 Rise to Full Height. This card says...
I saw you, I think it was around 2 that you did good with this card.
Well, because this card says my opponent can't attack.
Yes.
So basically, the Paleos, their only weakness is being destroyed by battle. So if you can have this engraved, you mill it, you banish it to target 1 monster you control, and your opponent can only attack that monster. So some cool interactions with this is if that monster leaves the field before the battle phase, they can't attack anything. So what I would do a lot is if I'm fusing something on my opponent's turn, like with a Kikalos, right? Oh, sorry. Like you Kikalos, send something, and then fusion, activate effect to fuse, and then you chain the Rise to Full Light to target Kikalos. So that way, when the chain resolves, Rise resolves, target Kikalos. Kikalos is the only monster they can attack. Then you fusion summon. Kikalos is removed from the board. You summon Rukalos or something. And now they can't attack anything because Kikalos left the board. Right. So basically, no, being able to do that means you protect the Paleos. So if you have like multiple traps and multiple Paleos engraved, you just like summon Paleo, and then like summon another Paleo. And then you have 2 bodies where you can go into like Obinia or Toad on your next turn, or like link them up for Elf or Sprint or something. So either way, you know, it just gives you so much value because you're not dying like on that turn. So it ensures that everything you have sticks. Because outing the Paleos is like impossible for most decks to do unless they play like Raigeki or something, or like even if you get even lead, then obviously you'll lose them off the on board, which sucks too. But yeah, Rise to Full Light, the whole reason why the deck works. This card's not fair. The last card in the main deck is 1 copy of High Rate Draw. The reason why this is in the deck is, again, because it's another insane mill, because it triggers the tears on your opponent's turn. If they do anything to like remove anything from the board, like you can chain High Rate Draw to pop it. So then, like for instance, if you have an effect that's trying to resolve, say you summon like Kikalos, right? And then activate effect, they try to negate it. You can chain High Rate Draw to pop the Kikalos so that the effect will resolve, and then you Kikalos mill 5. So it's a way to like play around a lot of like interaction that your opponent does while also triggering your tier effects. If you have a Havness or a Merly on board, you can trigger this to pop it and then fusion summon. So there's a lot of cool interactions this promotes. But again, not good to draw going second, not good to draw in general, really. So it gets sided out a decent amount, but when it comes up, this card can be game winning. So it's still worth playing. So that's the main deck, 40 cards even. You don't really want to risk playing more because again, you want every mill to be optimal, and you don't want to play any like any more cards than that. Extra deck, Kikalos, obvious, have to for tiers. Just one of it. There's not really space for the second. Although there was one game today where the second would have potentially come up, but it most of the time doesn't come up. You put it back most of the time. So, Rukalos, this card's really good. Just promotes, you just get multiple interruptions off of this because you can send one from your hand or field to fusion someone with that, and then you negate something with this. So that card's really good. Kaleido Heart, again, disruption. You summon on your opponent's turn, spin a card, like. It's also a 3K, and then if it's sent, you like summon it back and send another one, so you get another effect. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Then the other fusions: Muddragon, Garua, Dragostapelia, pretty standard. Most tier lists like always play these 6. Muddragon, I'm thinking about cutting it because in this deck it just doesn't come up because there's no like Bastiles or anything to like actually use with the tiers to make this. The only card you can make it with is like Backjack, or with like these 2 potentially. If you've already gone through Garua, Dragostapelia, you can like recycle these to make it, which in a really long grind game can come up sometimes, but usually the game's like usually it doesn't go that long. Like you don't use that many effects to get it to that point, so we have to recycle these. So I'm thinking about cutting this, but other than that, these are pretty standard and they definitely come up a lot. So that's for the fusions. For links, we got Sprint. This card says send Merle to grave, so it's insane. You can make it with Paleos, so it's again, yeah, too good. Elf, again, you can make it with Paleos. You summon Merle back. It's mill 3 on your opponent's turn. Just like value, protect things from targeting. So you like summon this with Rukalos, so they can't target Rukalos. Dark, again, God card and mirror match. You take a Kikalos or a Merle and you mill and you search. Like, yeah, this card ridiculous. IP, a cool interaction with IP. I thought about cutting it, but a buddy of mine told me about an interaction where you just like sit on IP and then you can make Sprint with the IP on your opponent's turn, and then send them early on your opponent's turn and fuse on your opponent's turn using IP. So it didn't quite come up for me. There's one game where I tried to make that play and it got stopped, so didn't resolve it. But in theory, you know, it's a nice option to have. So IP's in there, and then Underworld Goddess to be able to out, just to be able to out anything ridiculous. So, like, it's worth playing. It comes up often enough to where today it didn't come up, but you know, it comes up often enough to where it's still worth having. So that's it for links. And then for Exceeds, Opabinia, this card says search a Paleo card, so you search Morella. And then you can activate it from your hand for free right away. So you activate Morella, send a Sulik to grave, Sulik search a tier monster, and then you can like combo off more from there. So like if 2 Paleos live, you make this. It's just like you're so far ahead most of the time. And then we got Toad. Toad doesn't come up as much. You usually go Opabinia,
yes,
just because it generates more advantage. But Toad, sometimes, you know, it comes up to where you just want a 22 body to go into. And also, the gate is nice as well, but it doesn't actually come up as much as you think. But it's still worth playing, of course. And then we got Dweller, because Dweller says no to the format, so you have to kind of play it. Even if making Ring 4s is not as easy with my deck, because you don't play as many monsters, Sharon Rhino Heart does come up enough, you know, to where it's still worth playing. And then last card is Zeus, and it came up once today actually. Won me a game because cool. I went Opabinia in attack mode. He had a defense mode monster that's 1,000, so Opabinia search, and then crash with Opabinia, make Zeus, clear board, and then summon Rhino Heart, and then combo. So like Zeus again can be game winning if it comes up, so it's worth playing.
You gonna show your side, or you gonna
sure? I'll show the side. That's fine. Stats extra deck.
Sideboard.
Lava Golem.
Card is so good.
Yeah, you have to like outboards going second. This is just the best way because you don't need your normal summon that often. It's nice to be able to normal Rhino Heart, normal early, but it's not game. It's not like you don't lose if you have to Lava Golem and lose your normal summons. So it's like it's still one of the better forms of removal. And the other cool thing about it too is the burn for 1,000 that will trigger Havness in your hand. So that can potentially come up. So Lava Golem. Then we got the God card for time, the Ghost Sister. God. This won me a match today. It actually did. Like, so yeah, this card just says win in time going second. That's like all it is.
So your opponent attempts to special summon.
Yep.
Ditch it.
Yep. And then we got 3 Judgment for going first and stopping evenly. That's really, I didn't draw it today. Actually, I drew it once, but didn't actually resolve it. Yeah, I got evenly. Didn't see this, so that was unfortunate. But you know, then 3 Imperm. This card saved my ass because I opened in my round 3, game 3. I opened Ghost Sister double Imperm, so I was able to. It was against Sprite, and so he summoned the red, and I Ghost Sister, he attempted red negate and chain Imperm, and so the Ghost Sister resolved, and then that one.
Had to special. I saw that match.
Yeah, so Imperm, you know, again, it's a trap too. It triggers all the Paleos, which is insane. Because if your opponent, for instance, like activates one of the Shizu cards, mills 5 of your cards, you mill a Paleo, and then you Imperm something, you can trigger a Paleo in your turn 0. So that can potentially come up, which is insane. So yeah, Imperm, like it gets sided in most games going first or second. Honestly, it's like good enough to even potentially mainboard it, but you have enough negation in the main deck where it's not really worth maining, I think. And then you have again, it throws off your mill count because you don't want to mill this. So but again, it did put in work today for sure. Last cards, double Super Poly. In theory, it's like good for the mirror match, but I think people are getting smarter about playing around this, so it's not like as strong as it used to be. And then the last card is Olenoids, because this is a searchable out to, you know, like really any like problematic floodgate card. And again, it gives you another
MST,
out to, like,
basically, right?
Yeah, it's just an MST, but it's a Paleo name too. So it's again searchable, and then can summon itself back, so it's value if you mill it. But it's just a one of, because again, it's matchup dependent. Where it's not good against like the tier deck that much, so you don't really want to put this in.
Any shoutouts?
But I guess shout out to you for
thank you
allowing me to put the deck profile up. Yeah, so
you're amazing.
that's about it. Thanks.
All right.